from Rose Hill Gymnasium at historic Fordham University in the Bronx. Shooting stars and all eyes on the New York CHSAA intersectional semifinal. And today, the first of two. First one up, it's Christ the King taking on Bishop Loughlin in a Brooklyn Queens matchup. Hi everybody and welcome to the Rose Hill section of the Bronx. I'm Dan Savarino. Amanda Puglisi will join us momentarily. Well, a lot of eyes, of course, on this kind of game when you have the amount of talent on this hardwood this evening. And these are two groups this season that have kind of been in opposite starts, but guess what? They meet once again. Third time this year, these two will face off. Brooklyn Queens, New York champions in Bishop Loughlin this past season, and Christ the King, who fell in the semifinals. And you look at this talented tape, playing a national schedule, 23-3, 17-10 overall. But Loughlin has defeated them in both meetings earlier on this season. An overtime winner when the Champagne twins went off and Julian hit a bucket pretty much in overtime late to be able to win this game and keep that season alive. But these are two groups that did not see one another for some time now. And it's a completely different scenario when you start to add in some of the highlight players that we have for this evening's affair. You're adding in a player who's a five-star recruit in Moosa, who was sitting on the bench the last two times these teams met, on top of Ryan Myers, who has been the prolific scorer this year, averaging 16 points per contest, and match them up with the two twins at 6'7" in Justin and Julian Champagne, both first-team all-conference selections this year, and we're definitely in the conversations for Player of the Year. Well, it is going to be a good one, and this place is expected to be packed with plenty of people joining us here on News 12 Varsity. It's the HSS Game of the Week, locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, and it's the TV home of the intersectional semi and championship round, and it's coming up next on News 12 Varsity. Double A, and the other member of our broadcast team, Amanda Puglisi, will be behind the bench all night long.
Well, Dan, when you look at this Christ the King team, Coach Arbitello has said all season long, this is one of the toughest seasons because they've had so many injuries. But the good news is he has a huge part of his team back. Of course, that's his 6'11" sophomore, Moosa. It's his fourth game back, and Coach Arbitello says he's feeling good, and he's had some big games since coming back versus Varian in the Brooklyn Queens semifinals. Now, when I asked Bishop Loughlin's coach Gonzales about Cisse, he said, look, I can't spend too much time worrying about him. He's so good. He's one of those players you just can't stop. He says we need to worry about ourselves. We need to play a complete game for all 32 minutes, and Coach Gonzales says that's something they've really struggled with this season.
Let's take a look at our starting lineup for tonight's semifinal. First for the Royals, in a group that at the beginning of the season, well, actually look at Bishop Loughlin first, the two Champagne twins, and a group that has two juniors and three seniors on this roster, and both Champagne twins averaging nearly 40 points of their production tonight. And then Jaheim Young, another 8 points per game. For Christ the King, this was essentially the group they possibly expected from the start of the season before being battled with injuries. Of course, you see the forward position of Moosa, where Nathaniel Curry was sitting in that 5 most of this year and really did a fantastic job according to Coach Arbitello. But then they get the point guard back in Sterling Jones. Ryan Myers doesn't have to man the point like he did for a good portion of this season, and you have a little bit more of what you expected on paper from the summer and then going into this year. Joe Arbitello telling us earlier on, when the first time these teams met and then into the second, they were missing essentially 3 or 4 of their starters in that lineup, including this guy in Cisse, who did take warm-ups many times. People were anticipating him to come. And listen, when you're a 5-star recruit and you are number 8 in the nation per ESPN, you are going to get that kind of attention. Down to center court, it is Cisse and Justin Champagne who will take the opening tip. Of course, Christ the King in the royal jerseys, trimmed with gold and white, and the Lions of Bishop Loughlin in the all-whites. Champagne gets a tip on it, but it is Ryan Myers with the rock, and here is Sterling Jones for Christ the King, and they'll get the first possession here in the first quarter. Thanks so much for joining us on News 12 Varsity, and we're so happy to be bringing you this coverage live on Channel 61, News12Varsity.com, and Facebook Live. Here's Nate Curry, and he's denied inside. I believe it was Julian Champagne who might have gotten a piece of that one as well. Nate Curry, 10 points per game, 11 rebounds. Called the unsung hero of this team for what he's been able to do. And that's going to be a 5-second violation. So first turnover on the first possession, and here come the Loughlin Lions, who this season, if you start to look at it on paper, really haven't skipped a beat from the get-go. Started off this season winning the first 15 of the year. That was before Cardinal Hayes took them. Here's Maurice Dobe as he misses one from the left wing, and immediately right on Sterling Jones, the sophomore guard. Meanwhile, Christ the King able to start to get some wins late in the year. That's when things started to turn around. When you're missing guys, gonna happen. And boy, you missed that guy as well. The big fella, Moosa Hss, getting his first two. That's what he brings to you, nearly 7 feet tall. Second-year varsity player, so highly touted. And so is Justin Champagny, who comes up short with the right hand. Jones waits, leads it to Hss, and the first 4 points of this game are dunks from number 33. Well, Hss playing in his 4th game of the season. In game 1, the Brooklyn Queens semifinals, we heard from Amanda bring this up beforehand as Childs connects from downtown. So Loughlin is on the board. And Hss in the first game of the semifinals against Zavarian, 19 points, and he has led the team in points, rebounds, and blocks during the 3 games this year. That's how much of a factor he plays on both ends of the floor. But it took a little while to get adjusted, adding a new body in there for the first time in a while. That's Lacewell missing the 3, and here comes Champagny. Justin a little bit too strong, and it's going to be a foul called as well. It is an offensive foul, so it'll be the first one called against Champagny. Take a look at just this athleticism as Lacewell hits him up ahead. So quick to the rack and too easy. Has gotten plenty of offers already and interest from some of the top schools around. Sterling Jones has gotten some interest as well. He misses. Hss gets the rebound at the left block. Now fighting in that paint, turn around, no good. Curry pulls it in though, then gets dispossessed, and eventually it's Jaheim Young comes away with the rock. Dobe, and foul on the floor, it goes against Curry. Maurice Dobe is one of those guys on this group who, as a junior, and in their sophomore year, won a JV championship, freshman year, won a freshman championship. You don't hear that happen very often. Chance to take the lead, no on the chance from Young. So far they have just 1 for 3 to start this game from downtown. Had a little bit of a feeling out process, and we saw it actually the first time these two teams met, or rather the second time they met. First time we saw them at least live this year. Ryan Myers connects from the mid block. It's just what really came about the first meeting. And you can kind of throw it out the window because, again, they're essentially different teams, new players in the lineup. An offensive rebound from Young misses, tapped around a few times. Dobe, hard move in the paint, and Hss alters the shot, pulling it in. First meeting, 78-67 in Brooklyn, a win for Loughlin. The big one in that one was Ron McPherson. Ended up getting injured in that game, now sitting on the bench out for the year after having surgery for the ACL, and a big loss for them, averaging nearly 20 points per contest. And then the second meeting, the overtime win, real back and forth battle, eventually got to that point. Champagny's came on in the second. That's when things started to turn around for them. Hss a little turnaround, no good. After scoring 4 of the first 6. Nice skip pass. Childs looks, Young wide open for a 3 and clanks off the iron. Nearly picks off the pass, knocked into the bench. Loughlin winning the Brooklyn Queens championship this past season. In the regular season for the first time since 2014. And for them, that was one of their first 3 goals. Both of these teams have very similar goals to start the year. This 3-ball rattling out. It's, of course, tried to win the Brooklyn Queens regular season. then win the Brooklyn Queens Diocesan Championship and follow that up with a potential city championship. Well, Loughlin has already done 2 of those and looking to try and make it 3. Sterling Jones right to the basket. 5-point lead, timeout, 32nd by Ed Gonzales. Sterling Jones, a difference maker since he has come back. Just a real true point guard that comes into this lineup, and that's something that they missed for a good amount of time. Averaging 6 assists per game and another close to 10 points per contest. But it opens up the floor for the other guys like Ryan Myers, who again took over that point guard role. Really filled in nicely for Joe Arbitello. If there's one thing that you can take away from this season the most, is that depth is very important for any group's dynamic. When you are missing 4 or 5 starters, most teams that would deplete them, especially with the kind of schedule that Christ the King plays, but to still come away with a winning record, 17-10 overall. It just shows, and a lot of it, Arbitello telling us earlier on this season, he thinks it's just the mentality of playing for Christ the King and the history. Means a lot to wear that royal. Young misses, and physical play inside, grabbed right back by Childs. He flags it down the corner. Hounded, gets to Dobe. Spin away, Justin Champagny. And they have been struggling from the get-go. 3 ball, good. Ryan Myers, who this year has dropped 20 points or more 8 times. Second team honors. Has been the leading scorer on this group and on pace to reach the 1,000 plateau next year. Well, 2 leading scorers on this team for Bishop Loughlin still are held without points. This foul goes on Lacewell, and they're going to head to the bench for Jared Harrison Hunt, the senior who committed to the University of Miami. And he'll replace Cisse. Good inbound pass, but Hunt ends up getting a piece of it. As Young went up with the ball, they'll come together and stays with the Lions. So it just takes 2 off the timer. So far, both Champagny's scoreless. And those are 2 guys that were averaging close to 20 points per contest throughout the whole year. Dobe inside. Here's Young against Harrison Hunt and comes up short. Jones to Myers. Attacks towards the basket, nearly loses the basketball. Tiptoes right on the line, but he stepped out. 2.5 to play here in the first. Dan Savarino and Amanda Puglisi, we thank you so much for joining us from Rose Hill Gym here at Fordham in the Bronx for the first of 2. It's Stepanak and Hayes, another classic expected, and our second of 2 for this semifinal. Pass inside, Dobe, a little floater, nothing there, and foul is called. This will go against Jaheim Young. So it is his first and the team's third. Slow start offensively for Loughlin. Down by 8. We played nearly 6 minutes of basketball. Lacewell to Myers. Lacewell thinks about it. Long 2, not there. Wide open in the corner. Jones for 3, too much. Nate Curry tries to flip it over to Jones when maybe he should have just went up with the ball. But it got knocked out last touched off of Loughlin. So 2 seconds come off the shot clock. Inbound pass. Lacewell opens up the bank. Malik Lacewell, 10 points in their quarterfinal win over St. Ray's. In the last couple of games for this group, you fall in the Brooklyn Queens semifinals to Zavarian, 59-57. Cisse's first game back on the foul trouble, still at 19, but just couldn't overcome Zavarian, a group that, again, was not in the top 2, actually in 3rd place, but still one that they were concerned about this season. Then you have to face Scanlon, so of course, when you don't end up winning that championship, you know the road to win a city title is 4. Round one against Scanlon 63-62 as Ryan Myers gets it to go, and it's a 15-3 lead now, largest today. They had to deal with Scanlon runs of 15-2, 12-0. They led with a minute left. Scanlon before Myers hit the go-ahead bucket. Moved on to the quarterfinals. This group has never, in Christ the King, lost prior to the quarterfinal round of the city championship, which is just remarkable to think when you think back of just the history that is of Christ the King basketball. Of course, you can go for days upon days. 1 second differential between the timer and the game clock. Champagny is fouled on the way up. So Justin looks like he's heading to the stripe, and foul goes against Lacewell. Now pick up his second. So Justin looking to get his first two. 19.8 points per game. CHSAA first team honors after second team a year ago. More than 1,000 points, and recently both got official visits to Pitt. Also an unofficial to Rutgers, and he has a long list of high majors, mid majors. The plan right now is to still go together. In the summer, they were thinking about possibly prepping together over the summer. Prep next year and then go at it for 2020. And now it seems like, according to Ed Gonzales, they will be making a decision from the end of the season. So sinks his first two free throws, first 2 points. Of course, shot clock is off. A 10-point ball game, and Christ the King looking for more. Myers hounded by Childs, the junior. Myers takes the screen up high down the right lane. Jones wide open for a three. Splash as the buzzer sounds to end the first quarter. And what a first it was by Christ the King. 18-5 they lead after 8 minutes of play. So Christ the King ahead over Bishop Loughlin here in the HSS Game of the Week with locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The best is now nearby. Don't go anywhere. (18-5) lead for Christ the King over Bishop Loughlin. Third meeting between these two. Dan Savarino here with you. Thanks so much for joining us all night long, and we're so happy to be having the opportunity to do these kind of contests between two great programs out of the Brooklyn Queens Diocesan. There's Joe Arbitello talking to him what it would mean to potentially reach another city championship with a win today. And he said, listen, I'm blessed. It really am. Not a lot of people get a chance to achieve what he has done. Well, Amanda Puglisi was just in that Royals huddle. Amanda?
Well, I was listening in on Bishop Loughlin, and I can tell you that Julian Champagny, along with his teammates, were really frustrated at the defense that Christ the King was throwing at them because of the double teams. So that's really what the coaching staff spent a lot of time there trying to figure out, how do we combat this defense of Christ the King, telling their players, you have to make the plays, you have to make the passes. You're going to get your layups, but you need to make the plays to free us up.
Something Amanda brought up before in our open, just the fact that Ed Gonzales even said, listen, we cannot worry about what they do. We can't worry about Cisse. We have to worry about our own basketball game. That is the only way. Wanted to see 32 minutes from them. Said they haven't really done that since essentially the tournament down in Louisiana, where they had a real nice showing. And that was a couple of months ago in the early half of the season. Gonzales' 10th year. Would love to be able to get a city title under his belt. Just going back to, of course, these two coaches, and all these coaches know everything and everybody, it seems. Joe Arbitello basically does it all for Christ the King. You know, just saying of having an opportunity to play in a semifinal again, potentially getting to a championship, you know, he's done what many coaches have done in a lifetime. He's been able to do in his 11 years as a head coach. Harrison Hunt pokes it away, and Sterling Jones is there to recover as Julian Champagny got hounded. Taking a look at some of the stats early on, and not a lot of steals, but still 3 turnovers in that first, as Harrison Hunt gets his first 2 going for the Royals, extending this lead up to 15. Harrison Hunt, just another one of those guys who adds in as a role player. Was so happy and seemed so relieved when he was able to announce his decision to play for the U. Did it with Amanda right before the second meeting between these two, and had the opportunity to talk with her right after, and he was just so happy and honored to be able to go down and play in sunny South Florida. And with the weather this week, I envy him going forward. Champagne to Champagne, and here's Julian from downtown. His first 3 of this contest. Julian, 21 points on 8 of 10 shooting in their quarterfinal win over Iona Prep. That was this past Sunday here at Fordham. A game where he had 21 points, 5 rebounds. Justin had 7. They got good bench production as well. Adam Logan Tobier chipped in with 11 points himself. Dobe had 9. Could not shoot the 3 ball to save their life, really. They were 1 of 12 in that game. Well, so far they've hit 2 up to this point, but still trailing by double figures. Lavelle Smith checking into the game a couple of moments ago, along with Jones, Harrison Hunt, Cisse, and Myers. Jones, a little runner, but ends up being an alley-oop. Gets Moosa Cisse once again. 6 points, and all of them coming from two-handed jams. It's just too easy when you have someone that athletic down low. And right now, the Lions have been struggling with the wrinkles Christ the King have put into this defense. Of course, you don't want to throw the whole kitchen sink at a team when you know you're going to see them twice and potentially 4 times when you're playing one another in the same division. But saw them twice. This is round 3. Of course, tough to beat any team 3 times, especially the way it's been. A good ball movement early here by the Royals, and even better defense. Catch and shoot from the corner, no good. That was Smith's first attempt from downtown. Lobbed up, pulled in, but denied as Tobier got rejected by Cisse. Justin, not there. To Myers on the far wing. Gets the handoff to Jones. Justin comes out to contest, but 3-pointer is good. Lavelle Smith, the junior, coming off the bench in this one, knocking down a 3. And Ed Gonzales calling a timeout for Loughlin, down 25-8 early on. And it has been done in so many different ways, inside and out. The ball movement, the catch and shoot, nothing but net. Smith, a player who averaged about 4 points off the bench this year, had a high of 17 at one point, known for his 3-point shooting. That's his dynamic that he adds into this game. Christ the King, with this roster that they have, of course, posed for a deep run. It's a little bit different on the other side with, of course, the Lions, who haven't really battled the same kind of injury bug that you have seen. They also haven't battled the kind of adversity. When you just look at the losses this year, first one to Cardinal Hayes, who seems to beat everybody. And we'll see Joe Loads and his squad, the Archdiocesan champions, in our 8 o'clock showing as they face off with Stepanak. Well, but Loughlin this year is still 23-3 record, or second 21 season the last 4 years. A group that got wins over some of the best around and beat Christ the King twice. They beat Thomas Jefferson and the PSAL. Wins over teams like St. Ray's, who this year out of the Bronx was spectacular, even though they are eliminated now from their season. Tobier weaving inside, getting past Cisse. This team has been brutally tough on side and out. Just 3 for 20 right now. Back to 15. Adam Logan Tobier, though, with his first 2. Myers gets to 9 in the corner, saves the ball, and then plays dodgeball, but ends up hitting Coach Gonzales on the Loughlin bench. Now Bishop Loughlin looking to get a little bit of a run here, and something they desperately need. Giles to his right, penetrates to the cup, and finger roll, and it's going to be a goaltending call against Hss. Such a good rim protector, but that one was pretty blatant. So how about that, back-to-back buckets? First time that's happened all night in this game for Bishop Loughlin, a team that has averaged close to 70 a contest. Their defense, though, over the last couple of games, they've been winning some of those lower scoring battles. And here they get a turnover at the top. It's Julian, straight to the basket. No way, says Moosa. Boy, he has been waiting all season to get back out onto the hardwood. Just his 4th game. And has made an immediate impact. Take a look at this one. Julian with a fingertip. And that is way too easy for someone like Moosa Hss, and does it again. One of the best rim protectors, arguably in the sophomore class. And we're not just talking in New York City, we're talking in the country. Catch and shoot from the wing, no good. As Young misses from downtown, Hss tries to save the ball, gets it up ahead to Smith. Now Jones weaves between a couple. Myers, Hss couldn't try and slam it down. He's fouled this time. Adam Logan Tobier, it's his first. It is also the team's 4th. Jones into the far corner. Smith, second triple of this second quarter already. So Lavelle Smith with 3 minutes to go extends the lead, and answering right back, Jaheim Young. Called a diamond in the rough by Ed Gonzales. Just gets a little better and better over time, and getting some college interest, but knows as the games go on, and if they do continue to go on, hoping he'll get some more. You'll be seeing him play, no doubt, at the next level somewhere. Smith, 36 points in this quarter and the game. Back to Jones. Hss at the foul line, and hounded by Logan Tobier. Curry, as the timer expires, and that is a big defensive stop that Justin Champagny and the Lions needed. Down by 14. Well, if you're Bishop Loughlin at this point with still 2:16 on the game clock, you have to be thinking at least get it down to single digits going into halftime. You'll be feeling a lot better about yourself. Dobe, quick ball movement. Young jumps up into the lane. Hss says no again, and this time Hss is going to get called for the foul. Actually, it's going to be Smith. So correction on that, it is Smith. Julian Champagny at the stripe. Connects on the first. Champagny also, of course, getting that college interest early. But these two do want to stay together. Coming off a season where last year they were part of it. 3-year varsity players. He goes 1 for 2 with the stripe. Just 10 and 16 overall last year. Fell to Archbishop Malloy in Brooklyn Queens semifinal and the Cardinal Hayes in the quarterfinal. They won the right ship. The motto of the Champagnys this season, refuse to lose. Just the kind of attitude they bring to the table. A three-pointer that misses from Smith, so ball goes back to Bishop Loughlin. Minute 41 to play here in the second frame from Rose Hill Gymnasium at Fordham University. Young, one dribble, Cisse's there, so they get it to Dobe with the runner. That misses, Champagny no good. Here's another opportunity that finally goes. Adam Logan Tobier. 11 points, 5 rebounds last game on perfect shooting, 4 of 4. He's got 4 points as they pick up the defensive intensity with a minute 5 to play. Cisse underneath, denied from behind by Julian, and then eventually fouls Cisse underneath the hoop. At Champagny, his first and the team's 5th. 62 seconds on this game clock. The fresh 35. Christ the King looking to hold on to this double-figure lead. Curry, no good. And a chance to get it back to single digits for the first time in a very long time. Dobe up ahead, and just missing was Julian. Now pulls back, straightaway 3, clanks off the back iron. Cisse running the floor, 3-on-1, Cisse, and Dobe got a piece. Maurice Dobe, who might be the smallest guy on the floor at 5'5". That is a good foul, as they call it. That still sends Cisse to the line to shoot 2. Team 6th. And Dobe's 2nd. Misses the first. Harrison Hunt will come on and replace Smith. Also a substitution as Dobe takes a seat for Taj Childs. So there'll be a 5-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock as Cisse 1 for 2, 12-point lead. Childs running the point here as he crosses half court. Methodical pace as he gets up here, and expect them to use most of this clock. A first quarter, of course, that Bishop Loughlin wants to forget, and a second that at least started to pick up a little bit more. But down by double figures for the majority of this game. Justin inside, no. Harrison Hunt with the board. Jones across midcourt with 4 seconds to play. Jump stop, bounce pass. Here's a 3 on the way. Molina at the buzzer. And Christ the King gets buzzer beaters at the end of the first and second quarters. So they take a 32-17 lead into halftime. How about that? Well, that facial expression says it all. Bishop Loughlin looking to try and force a comeback as we go into halftime. Stay with us. Plenty of more coverage here on the HSS Game of the Week with locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The best is now nearby. Welcome back to the HSS Game of the Week. 15-point lead for Christ the King over Bishop Loughlin. They're up as much as 17 points in this game, but it's a 15-point halftime advantage. Well, Amanda Puglisi is standing by, and we have our News 12 Scholar Athlete of the Week. Amanda?
That's right, Dan. And of course, Kevin Marr and the entire News 12 crew, they're always looking for the newest Scholar Athlete, and they found their most recent one in Hicksville.
The Stony Brook women's lacrosse team is loaded with Long Islanders, and they're getting this one next year. She's Hicksville High School senior Karen Heuser, our latest Scholar Athlete of the Week, sponsored by Bethpage Federal Credit Union. Winter, spring, summer, fall, Karen says she never misses a day of lacrosse, and her resume proves it. She's been a varsity player for Hicksville since 8th grade and has racked up nearly 200 points. She's a 2-time All-County player who admits she likes to get fancy on the field.
I just love going on that field and getting that rush every time, and just being able to do all the cool tricks, like all the behind the backs and everything. That's just, I love about that sport. I just love that it's also the fastest game on 2 feet.
Speaking of fast feet, Karen also runs cross country and winter track, but not just to stay in shape. She goes after it. She's captain of the track team, the mile specialist, and a two-time MVP. Karen also believes in the power of volunteering, whether she's at the Atria Assisted Living Center collecting toys for Down syndrome kids or her weekly shifts at North Shore Hospital. She says it's all worth it.
It sort of just gives me a good feeling knowing that I'm helping people and that I got a smile on their face throughout the whole day, so it's a really good feeling.
Karen is also an altar server at her church, a member of the Key Club. She has a 95 unweighted average and is a junior lacrosse coach for the Hicksville PAL. And like all of our winners, Karen gets a $1,000 scholarship from Bethpage Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Marr.
For more scholar athlete pieces from across the tri-state, make sure you check out news12varsity.com and of course News 12 Varsity's Facebook page. We have plenty more basketball coming up, but before we do, we have the Hss Tip of the Week.
Today's tip is specific to female athletes. Girls are at a higher risk of ACL tears and should tailor their workouts differently to reduce the chance of injuries. Your exercises should activate your hips and external rotators to build your strength in your lower body and reduce strain on the knee. Make sure you work your upper body as well. ACL support is important, but you should always maintain balance in your training regimen.
Hospital for Special Surgery, #1 in orthopedics for 9 straight years. Learn more at hss.edu.
Back here in the intersectional semifinals, Christ the King, Bishop Loughlin, 15-point lead at halftime. Dan Savarino with you along with Amanda Puglisi. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's take a look at some of those first half highlights, and boy, there were a ton of good ones in this one. Just to start off the game, here's the first 2 points of the game. Moosa slamming it home, ended up finishing with 7 points back in that first half. And his first 4 points were all dunks. They were moving the ball as well, Christ the King. Sterling Jones was connecting from downtown. They went 5 of 11 in the entire first half from that category. And also defensively, they were making some stops, but that was the first bucket in a long time for Julian Champagny, as those guys have been struggling from the field overall. That guy really has not been struggling in any regard. Adam Logan Tobier cutting inside, and he was able to get another 2, and that's what kind of got this group on a quick little run, started to bring some life back. They got it within 12 points and then within 11 points, but it was a dagger with a 3-pointer at the very end. Sterling Jones hit one before, and then eventually a dagger to put in the end of the second quarter, and that's where he was as we went into halftime. You take a look at some of these stats, and just offensively, not good numbers at all for Bishop Loughlin by any means. The blocks, 5-3. Guess who has 4 of those blocks? Well, that's Moosa with 4 blocks, 1 turnover, 7 rebounds, 7 points. One number that really jumps out off that's not on this page overall, Justin Champagny, 0 of 5 from the field in this contest. Julian, 1 of 5, so just a combined 1 of 10 between the 2 leading scorers on this team. 32-17 on HSS Game of the Week. Stay tuned, we come back. We'll start the third quarter live on News 12 Varsity. Welcome back. Third quarter just about ready to get underway. Dan Savarino and also Amanda Puglisi, who was on the sideline, had a chance to talk with the coaches at halftime.
Well, Dan, as Coach Gonzales told us before the game, this game for them was going to be all about making adjustments. And when he's talking about this adjustment, he said, look, if Christ the King is going to double team us, that means everybody else has to do their job. If the Champagny twins are going to be doubled down, everybody else on the team is really going to have to step up. They're going to have to make screens, and they're really going to have to move without the ball if we want to be successful in the second half. He also said to me, Dan, he's optimistic because he doesn't think they're going to shoot as poorly in the second half as they did in the first.
Yeah, it wasn't great in terms of shooting by any means. They were just 1 of 16 from the field in the first quarter, and in the game shooting just 19% from the field overall. That's compared to an even 50% from the field for Christ the King. We'll go from right to left, wearing their royal uniforms, tops and bottoms, trimmed with gold and white. Loughlin in the all whites, trimmed in purple. Childs, Young, and the Champagny twins with Dobe out there for the Lions, and for Christ the King, it is their starting group as well, as they lead Cisse, who Picks up right where he left off with another big slam. 9 points in the contest. He's also there with Myers, Jones, Lacewell, and Curry. 3 ball on the way, and it's well short on the attempt from Childs. Dobe hustling after it. First one to flag it. Back in his own end, though, is Myers. Heaves the pass out, and now they got some space up the floor. This is the 4th semifinal appearance of Christ the King in 5 years, which is really remarkable when you think about it, to get the Final Four of the CHSAA with all the great teams that play in this entire league. Running from Justin, no good, and still looking for his first field goal of the game, starting now 0 of 6. Foul goes against Moosa Cisse. That is his first and the team's first. So it will bring Jaheim Young to the line. 1 of 10 from the field, but first free throws of the game. And misses the first one. Meanwhile, Bishop Loughlin, they have reached the championship in 3 of the last 6 years, but they have not won a city crown since 1992. So looking to accomplish something they have not done since basically everyone wasn't born, as Nathaniel Curry goes flying into the deck, and there is a fan down, but he is all right, all smiles. Nothing Curry could do. I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the things that scares me the most about being on press row. Something like that. And I know I'm not the old one. Oh boy, that could have been a lot worse than it was. Fan's all right. He just picks up his jacket, smiling, laughing. As this 3 ball is a miss from Dobe, the turnaround by Julian, and that's no good as well. The board from Cisse. Jones penetrates, tries to drop it off to Curry, and a foul called against Justin. Actually, they're not going to call it on him. I believe it's going to go against Jaheim Young. Wait for the official notice. So Curry, catch and shoot off the inbounds play. That's a miss. The rebound for the Lions. They push hard from left to right, and Dobe's fouled on the way up. So Maurice Dobe will shoot. Lacewell picks up his 3rd. And the team's 2nd. Maurice Dobe at the stripe, 9 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds in their quarterfinal win against Iona. Of course, defeated Bavarian in the Brooklyn Queens finals. First title since 2016. It's now 3 BQ crowns in the last 6 years for them. Those 2 for 2. And then will get replaced by Adam Logan Tobier. Jones to Curry. Decides to put it on the floor and move it up ahead. Joe Arbitello could not say one bad thing about Nathaniel Curry and what he has meant to this team this season. Filling a role that is so difficult to do. Ryan Myers, meanwhile, has done that as well. He's a player who has gotten plenty of interest, some offers. He's now getting some high major looks as this ball is kicked and deflects into the stands. Well, everyone's got to watch out here. This has become a dangerous game in the stands. I don't know what's going on the last couple of minutes. I am keeping my head on a swivel. That is for sure. Young to Childs, works it inside. Logan Tobier denied again by Cisse. Jones kicks it out, and Myers thought about a 3, but Childs there to close out immediately. Downstairs, Cisse at the block, tries to get to Curry. Good ball movement to the corner. Lacewell, yes! 39-19, largest lead extends for Christ the King, who have had the advantage throughout. Young pulling back for a three. And he has been ice cold today from the fields. Has only hit one basket for this group that is really having a tough time defensively against Christ the King. And Royals, if you look at the numbers, holding opponents to 65 a game, and that's playing some of the best teams around. But they were missing essentially 4 starters at one point, and they were getting wins over some good teams in the nation and in the area. Ended up had a stretch of 8 of 10 in January. Wins over shown out of Missouri in a Hoop Hall Classic. The Hoop Hall Classic, which is up in Springfield, Massachusetts. Of course, home of the Hall of Fame. And they defeated Zavarian, and they came back to New York. And only a week later had to face the Lions of Loughlin on their home court. Myers cuts to his left. Lacewell's open right in front of his bench. Clanks off the back iron, but an offensive rebound. Leads it up ahead, Hss, and he comes up short. But who's there? Nathaniel Curry, as always. Next guy up on the play, next guy up overall. So Nathaniel Curry with a big 2 points. And it's 41-19 with still a little more than 4 minutes to go. Right now, Bishop Loughlin having a tough time really getting anything going offensively. This group, though, just keeps moving and moving. A team that has a lot of players, really both of them, that are going to end up playing college basketball at mid-major, high-major levels. That's what's something that is so special about the CHSAA. Every team seems to be stacked. And of course, these are 2 groups that historically have been there for a number of years. This is actually the 6th meeting in 11 years, in the last 11 years, that these 2 have met in a City playoff. Championship game 3 times, won all by the Royals. Twice prior in the semifinals. Loughlin winning it in 2016, Christ the King in 09. Hss gets the rock back, now runs ahead. Slings it over to Myers, takes it to the cup, and bounces off the cylinder. 2-on-1 the other direction. Childs, and a walk. As he slips up right at the mid-block. It's been that kind of evening. Jalen Flowers will check into the game. And of course, Loughlin has been down 1 the last 4. A big loss for them as well. Tyshawn High was averaging 10 points per game and in the starting role. Of course, is with the team, just not dressed, and was TBD going forward. Hss, long 2. It's short. Curry with a carom, muscles his way out. Then gets denied underneath by Justin Champagny. Childs from left to right. Down the right lane, and a nice little layup. Still a big deficit with more than 3 minutes to go in the quarter. (41-21). And the lead has been in double figures for essentially all of this game, so it feels. Or maybe the exception in the first 2 minutes. Myers has a screen, doesn't take it. Drives right, tries to feed a pass inside, goes off the hands of Jones. Led ahead, looking for Justin Champagny, and couldn't get into him. Myers the other direction, and a mistake ends up turning into a bucket on the other end of the floor. Lead is 22. Offensive foul. So Flowers picks up his first. Team's second. Still 2.5 to play. We're in the 3rd quarter. And something that is remarkable to see, though, We're talking about 2 of the top 10 scorers in the entire league. 2 guys who are averaging close to 20 points a night. And they have very few points thus far in this game. As Jaheim Young gets a much-needed 2. Justin Champagny, just 2 points in the game, hasn't hit a field goal. Julian, meanwhile, has 4 points on only 1 basket. Moosa Cisse has been an impact player since returning. Even asking the other coaches who could potentially face him in the next round, like a Pat Massaroni out of Stepanak, who we'll see in our next game. And of course, 8 o'clock start. Stay with us on News 12 Varsity. Stepanak and Cardinal Hayes. Always a good meeting between those 2, no matter the sport. And saying how, you know, Cisse just adding in a 7-footer, near 7-footer, and a 5-star recruit. I mean, you can't get any better at this point. This team now is fully healthy, and you haven't really been able to scheme against them because you haven't seen them this year. Young denied again, and Cisse says no. Well, that head nod is turning into like a Dikembe Mutombo no. His blocks are getting up there. And we'll check the official stats after 3 quarters in less than 2 minutes, and gets another one here in the 3rd, but poked away by Childs. Couple of bodies around him, so he's fouled. And Taj Childs will head to the stripe. Well, surrendering on the defensive side for Bishop Loughlin, already 45 in the game at this point. They've actually held their last 3 opponents to under 50. Or they've been giving up just 48 points per game against. 3 times in the last 3 games, but the first 23 games of the season, they only did that twice. It was something that Ed Gonzales challenged them with, that you guys have to start doing on both ends of the floor better if you want to be able to win. Of course, get the defensive rebounds. Yeah, they've had a tough time of rebounding, though, and that is the Cisse impact. That's the Curry impact. And Christ the King has been shooting the basketball very well in this game. Justin Champagny returns to the floor as Sterling Jones pushes ahead for the Royals, straight to the basket, and put home by Moosa Cisse as it was sitting right there in the cylinder for him. Double-double for Moosa Cisse once again. Dobe for 3, yes. So back to 20, and they have a little more than 9 minutes of regulation time to storm what would be an historic comeback here in the semifinal. Harrison Hunt up to Smith. It has been the role players as well for this group, as Joe Arbitello will burn a timeout with exactly a minute to go. Moosa Cisse playing in his 4th game, and yes, we are a broken record talking about him, but it's just the impact he brings on the floor. At the rim, on the defensive side, just everything that he can do. He's a big man that could run the floor. A 5-star recruit who came from St. Benedict's in 8th grade. Didn't see him play 1 day prior to Arbitello before transferring, and was dealing with a stress fracture that occurred back in the spring of last year. Things got set back, eventually went to Africa to visit his mom, and that set back a little more of a rehab, but it was good to see his family, and now is back in here in the most important time of the year for Christ the King. It's like adding on a superstar for a playoff run. You really don't get a chance to do that in any sport. Just a different kind of dynamic. It's almost like when you have those rec league games and all of a sudden you bring that one guy who has a friend who just came back from playing at some type of level. Well, Moosa Cisse can do that for you in so many emphatic ways. Slams the basketball like he's mad at it through the hoop. Justin Champagny missing again, still looking for his first field goal, and something you would never think you would be saying at this point of the game, considering the years they've been having. Here's Hss from the stripe. That rattles home as well. Timeout called. Or check that. It is an injury timeout. Sterling Jones is hobbling. And boy, that is not what Christ the King wants to see. That has basically been the epitome of their entire season. Injury after injury. Sterling Jones already missed time this year. They have to hope everything is all right for him. And he'll be looked at. Seems to be in a lot of discomfort, though, on the bench. Well, luckily for his group, they have a comfortable lead with the last 10 seconds of the quarter. Want to keep an eye on that. Dobe connects on another triple. And that is the end of 3 frames. So it brings the deficit back to 21. 8 minutes shy of another city championship game appearance. Stay with us. Does Bishop Loughlin have a comeback in them, or does Moosa, Hss and company have something to say about it? HSS Game of the Week brought to you by HSS Game of the Week with locations in New York, New Jersey, and in Connecticut. The best is now nearby. 51-30 is the score after 3 quarters of play. Christ the King over Bishop Loughlin. Dan Sabrian and Amanda Puglisi here with you. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. And this game has been all Christ the King up to this point. Sterling Jones hobbled off, and Amanda Puglisi got a word.
Well, Dan, Sterling Jones, they actually took him over to the edge of his bench. They took off his shoe, and it looks like it's his left foot that's really bothering him. And it's underneath the foot and on the outside, and that's currently where all the ice pack is. So like I said, they took off his shoe, and they currently are icing him right now.
So up 21, I wouldn't expect them to get back into this game at this point. Shoe comes off, and we start the the fourth quarter. Stats after the third quarter, rather that. Hss now 17 points, 12 rebounds, 8 blocks in 19 minutes. Team shooting 50% from the field, 6 of 13 from downtown. Myers also has 11. Looking at Bishop Loughlin, though, just 22% from the field. Getting muscled in the paint and on the glass. And if you look at the Champagny twins, a combined 1 for 13. And the one is Julian, who is 1 for 6. Justin is at the stripe, though. And now 4 for 4. Had 7 points and 9 rebounds in their last game, but this is a guy who's dropped 20 or more in 13 of their 26. Jaheim Young seals it away. Childs to the basket, too strong. Can't get the touch. Hss gets the basketball, and he is fouled. So it goes against Jaheim Young, his third. Christ the King is winning in the bench production, winning on the second chance points, the points off of turnovers, and obviously the points in the paint. There's Julian. His second field goal made today. And it brings it back within 20. Foul called against Julian Champagny. And Ed Gonzales is irate. Had to be held back for a moment. Team's fourth. Malik Lacewell will check back in. So a brief conversation with Smith and Champagny, and here's another foul. It's called against Justin. They have had a tough time today in the fouls department. They have not liked some of the calls that have gone their way. So Justin picks up another. That is, check that, just his first, rather that. Julian has 3. Maurice Dobe will pick up his third, and just like that, one away from the bonus. From here on out for Christ the King. We'll see Jalen Flowers check into the contest one more time. Limited scoring role this season for the junior. It was 15 total points. Hss tries to tiptoe the line but can't do so. Steps out right in front of press row. And Dobe will also return on as Flowers takes a seat. 51-34. A little under 7 minutes to play in regulation. Young from downtown. He's been cold today as well. 2 of 16 overall. For a team that generally shoots the basketball pretty well, it has been as cold as it is outside for the Lions. Myers into the lane. Fancy move with his left. Ryan Myers had himself a nice evening thus far. And of course, a nice season. Maurice Dobe, team's leading scorer. He's the first in double figures for Loughlin. Of course, Loughlin winning the regular season. They won the Brooklyn Queens Diocesan Championship. Brought that up before. For that group, that is their third championship since 2014. As Moosa Hss heads to the stripe. 3 of 4 at the line, 17 points, 14 rebounds, 8 blocks. Closing in on a triple-double with blocks. You don't hear that very often. Hits the second, so 18 for him. Something that Joe Arbitello was mentioning was the toughest thing of getting Hss back in the lineup was honestly just getting him back in there and adjusted with everyone else. It was a tough thing to put him in against Bavarian when you have the first 24 games usually to figure things out, and now you just add another guy into your lineup who hasn't played a minute in game action. Poked away, here's Julian, and he lays it in. Julian Champagny. Now it's 6 points, but foul is called. Trying to steal it away. It is Justin, his third. Team's ninth, so 1-1 upcoming for Malik Lacewell. Lacewell has been one of those guys, of course, and these depth guys who has stepped up. We asked him earlier in the year, and this is the front end of the 1-1. Is this the worst year you've ever had with injuries? And he kind of just chuckled and said, yeah, what do you think? Of course, we've got 4 starters at most of this season, but there were no excuses. This team was good enough to win games now, and guess what? They were. They were able to do so, get big wins in big moments. Jaheim Young fouled on the way up, so he'll stop the clock and shoot 2. This is important. Get him back to 14 now. Game is far from over. Still 5:20 to go. And your 2 best scorers haven't even really been much of an offensive factor in this game. They've contained them well. Lacewell couldn't hang on to the ball. Childs to Julian underneath the hoop. He misses. Justin comes in, no good. Julian again, and he's fouled. So Julian will head to the stripe and shoot a pair. Get it back to 13. Loughlin on a little bit of a run in the last couple of minutes, but missed the last few free throws. 9 points now for Julian Champagny. Of course, a team that has not won the city championship, but has gotten so close. Like Gonzales been telling me last night, listen, to have these kids to potentially get to that point, if it happens, it just means so much, not just for the program, but for everyone involved. All the hard work, the dedication they put in. These 2 years removed from a 19-win season. They fell in the BQ finals to Malloy, a team that was stacked, of course, with 5-star recruits. And then falling into semifinals at the intersectional to Hayes, who eventually won their first title in a long time. Childs from the corner, back to 13. So the 3-ball here in the second half as Childs nearly steals it away. And havoc defense against Myers, who runs up the floor. Again, he is running the point with Sterling Jones out. And was off the page with Smith there, which forces Christ the King to call a timeout. So back to 13, 4.5 to go. Full timeout is the call for Christ the King. In this game that they had a lead of more than 20, up by 24 many times in this game. Of course, we'll have all the action for you tonight in the second semifinal, as well as Sunday. Let's take a look at the brackets and how they got here. Intersectional championship game Sunday, 3 p.m. David Resnick will bring you all the action from this very spot at Rose Hill Gym. And you just look at this route that, of course, Christ the King had to take. You know, the one extra game, 1-point win over Scanlon, a win over St. Ray's, a team that just lost in the Archdiocesan Championship, the runner-ups, and a group that won the regular season out of the New York AA there. And now eventually here in the semifinals and 4.5 away of returning to the championship game with their opponent, TBD, Cardinal Hayes and Stepanak, the last 2 champions. Stepanak, another group that was dealing with injuries all season long. We'll get a chance to see RJ Davis, AJ Griffin, another potential 5-star group. In our next game, face off with Cardinal Hayes and Joe Toussaint, Player of the Year. And a team that just 2 years removed of their championship run. Stay with us, still a good night of hoops here on Channel 61, News12Varsity.com, and Facebook Live. And boy, oh boy, it's back to 10. And there is life in this building on the Lions bench for the first time since very early in this game. Poked away, Young has the basketball. Here comes Loughlin. Dobe to the rack. Christ the King ball. And Dobe is irate. Having to be held back by Jaheim Young. Well, that was a close one. Not sure if it got ball or not. Looked like it did. And now Dobe falling again as Lacewell, they thought was a push-off. So Christ the King, 4 minutes to go. Back to a 10-point game. Chan is defense from the Lion faithful. Myers penetrates to the rack. Finishes with the left hand. He is so good at penetrating to the basket. Guy who averaged just 10 last year. 16 a game this season. But Jaheim Young back to 10. Like we said, the top scorers for Bishop Loughlin have been quiet. Now starting to get going. Too easy the other direction though, Lavelle Smith. So 3 minutes to play. 12-point basketball game. Childs is part of this comeback. He's got 14 points, which is just 2 away from his season high. Dobe in the corner. Oh boy! Back within 10. 2:45 to play. What is going on? Smith pulling up for a 2, and that's the response. Timeout called by Joe Arbitello, and Christ the King will use a full timeout. A team that had struggled from downtown last game and this one as well. Hitting it from the corner. Maurice Dobe, 14 points in this contest. The juniors who are coming off a JV championship, a freshman championship, have responded and willed this team here in the fourth frame. Got it back to 9. It's 11 right now, and I'm sure you're saying, listen, 11-point game, 2:37 to go. All right, that's still a pretty good lead, but this was in the 20s from halftime. Dan Stafford, Amanda Puglisi here with you, and AP is trying to listen inside that huddle, so she'll get what she hears in just a moment. But this run here in the fourth quarter has really been done by the shooting of Bishop Loughlin, a team that has been scoring 70 points a game, but really struggling again early on. I don't know how many times you can really say it, but it was just a different group here in the last 8 minutes of this game. Here's Amanda, who is in the Arbitello huddle.
Well, Dan, the coaching staff for Christ the King really telling their team, we have to dig in right now. 2 minutes and 37 seconds left in the semifinal games. And as far as defense, that's really what he called that timeout for. Telling Cisse, you have to stay in the middle, but then telling Myers, you're the guy. You have to double, and then you need to find the open player. Everyone needs to crash the boards. We need to get out on their shooters. We can't give them any easy threes, which is what we've been giving them the last few minutes.
Defensive rebounding was a key in this game for Joe Arbitello. And there is some sort of a delay as they want to, looks like, clean up part of the floor. So they'll clean up this floor and try and wipe it up right in front of the Bishop Loughlin bench. But boy, it has just been a different dynamic the last couple of minutes, and this kind of all started when Sterling Jones went out with injury. Jones right now being taped up on his bench and not looking like he's going to return in this game. And a real tough showing for him. That'd be a tough loss for Christ the King. They've already lost him once this season. And of course, we wish our best to Sterling, the super sophomore who has been manning this point. And there he is getting taped up. Once he came out of this game, it did change the vibe a little bit. It was still a 20-plus point lead. But then the Lions started hitting triples. They started getting defensive stops. And this game just completely turned around. Loughlin scoring just 5 points total back in that first quarter. Was down by double figures most of this game. It was a 21-point lead after 3 quarters of play, and Moosa Cisse grabs another block, and it looks like he's just one away from a triple-double in points, rebounds, and blocks. Foul called against Julian Champagny. That is his 4th, though. Also double bonus now. So that is a big, big foul against Julian Champagny. So he plays a 4, Justin plays with 3, Young has 3 as well. And Myers at the stripe, already 16 points in this game. Gets the roll on the second. Back to 13, under 2.5 to go. Justin to the rack, no good. It has been that kind of a night for him. Curry up ahead, here's Cisse. One dribble and gets the friendly bounce. Moosa Cisse, 20 points in the game now. From way downtown, Julian, it's good. Timeout, Bishop Loughlin. Back to 12. Still under 2 to go. Well, Julian Champagny, we know about the 3 ball against Christ the King. It was his 3 that won in the game in overtime, and he has got some range for a big fella. 6'7" is what he stands. Their dad, Ranford, a member of the St. John's National Championship men's soccer team in '96. Good athletic family, and his dad has even joked, well, he thought they were going to play soccer. Instead, they are basketball players and have very bright futures. Amanda Puglisi near the Christ the King huddle.
The training staff came over to Coach Arbitello, gave him the thumbs up and said, hey, Joe, he's good to go. So, guys, there is a potential that in the next minute or so, Sterling Jones could make a comeback if Christ the King needs him.
Well, that is a big news situation for Christ the King, let alone in this game if he can come back on and try and close it out if they need him. But just the fact that he is not injured to the point where he'll be out for an extended period of time. He is a tough kid. So good to see Sterling Jones shoe back on. Takes a seat though. And Loughlin brought it back to 9. It has been a double-figure lead, wire to up to this point. I don't call it wire to wire yet. Still a $1:56 to play. Smith on the inbound. Gets Curry. Hounded by Childs. Myers has the rock double teamed. Curry up ahead. Here's Cisse, but loses a handle on the ball. And now Justin Champagnie. Young to the basket, and no basket. They're going to say the foul is on the floor. It goes against Myers. Only his first, team 7, so it puts Loughlin in the bonus. 1-and-1 opportunity. Jaheim Young, 6 points, 5 rebounds in this game. And a huge first free throw, because now he gets another. So it goes 1 for 2, and just 1 for 6 in the game overall, but Cisse loses the basketball, stolen by Julian, and he goes up and shooting a couple of free throws here, as Cisse picks up his second. Well, Julian, the last couple of games, most of the season it was Justin who was the leading scorer, but Julian has surpassed him there. 21 points last game. In this contest, 12 points, which is actually third on the team in points at the moment. Just a rebound shy of another double-double. 10-point basketball game, 98 ticks to play. Smith hounded in front of his own bench. Gets to Myers, though, on the near side of the court. Yo-yos the ball, now scoops it up. Lacewell to Smith. Quick touch to the corner. Curry. One dribble, and now Myers looks up, but still 15 on the timer. Nearly poked from behind, but Julian has the ball. Childs back to single digits. It is an 8-point basketball game with 1 minute and 10 seconds to play. But wait a second, looks like there is a foul here after the basket. Well, Julian Champagnie with the steal. Childs gets it. And they're going to call a foul on Lavelle Smith. So Smith picking up the foul. And now an end one opportunity. Still 3 possessions, regardless of the free throw. And Sterling Jones has returned to the floor with 1 minute 10 to play, despite missing the majority of this quarter. 66-59, nearly poked loose by Dobe. Myers has it, drops it off. Cisse, skies up ahead. 22 points for the big fella as the backboard continues to rattle. 9-point game with 60 seconds to play. Childs wide open for a 3. Clanks off the back iron. Cisse with the board, but couldn't hit his man outside, who was Lacewell. 3 from the corner, and Julian misses. An air ball into the hands of Myers. Jones just takes it to the cup for an easy 2, and the lead is back to double figures. Justin is fouled. So this at least stops the clock. You can bring it back to 3 possessions. However, Christ the King is in the double bonus. And right now you really don't have the fouls to give, of course, with the guys you have on the floor, who a lot of them are playing with 3, and Julian playing with 4 as Justin misses the first free throw. A purposeful miss gets it back to Julian, who lays it in. You don't see that play work very often, but it's back to just 9, 31 seconds to go. And Gonzales will call a timeout here. This is such a tough play to execute. Justin, a purposeful miss off the front of the rim, gets it to his twin brother, who lays it in. You really don't see that happen many times and work. Last time, at least that comes to my knowledge, was a play like that to turn into a 3 ball, and it was a year ago. And that was a college basketball game that Hofstra ended up winning. But that's just me reminiscing. It happens sometimes, it's just not very often. 70-61, this was a 21-point lead after 3 quarters of play. Childs, Dobe, and Julian Champagny here in the 4th quarter alone have all gotten them back into this point. Sterling Jones took a seat after hobbling off. Returns to the floor, though, with 1:10 to go. Gets the ball to Curry, and now Jones intentionally fouled by Jaheim Young. That'll be his 4th. So Jones heading to the stripe, already 7 points. Lions have made this a good basketball game down the stretch. But the Christ the King defense early, the shot blocking, the rebounds, their solid shooting, and being able to contain 2 of the top scorers in all of the CHSAA. And there's the big stories there, and now Christ the King will actually press. Julian up ahead, 25 seconds to play. Dobe catch and shoot for a 3. It's an air ball. Grabbed by Cisse and just holds it over. They still have to get the ball over, and they do, and now they can dribble this out. Christ the King, a season full of injuries, back healthy once again, and at the perfect time. They'll be making their 11th championship game appearance in 14 years this Sunday at Fordham. Playing for another city title, Christ the King victorious, 72-61, the final score. Well, we still have more to come here on News 12 Varsity, the HSS Game of the Week. Locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The best is now nearby. Don't go anywhere. 72-61, the final score. Christ the King comes off victorious with a win over Bishop Loughlin. And Amanda Puglisi, for the first time in her life, is taller than Moosa Cisse. Amanda?
You know, Dan, I had asked the nice guys here at Fordham, I said, can you get me a box so I'm just a little bit closer to Cisse? I didn't ask to be taller than him, but Cisse, what a performance today. Look, the first time Christ the King played Bishop Loughlin, they lost. Clearly, you were the difference maker today. So what was your mentality coming into a game like this one?
My mentality was hard because I've been out for like 8 months. My teammates, they've been playing hard to get here, so I gotta play with them. Like, we play as a teammate, we work hard for that, so yeah.
You know, for a while it looked like you guys were going to coast into the championship in this game, but Bishop Loughlin came in about a minute left. It was a little less than a 10-point game. So what was your mindset at that point and in general for this whole team?
My mind was like to play defense, to play hard, because like last year we lost in the final, so I'm trying to make a shape this year. That was the goal.
So how are you feeling physically, and how are you feeling about this team? Of course, we don't know who your opponent is going to be in the championship game, but how are you feeling right now at this moment? I
feel like I'm gonna win this shit, cause that's a goal. Like, I've been working hard for that. Since last year, I lost. This year I was like, I'm gonna get it for my coach, for my teammate, for the culture, Christ the King.
All right, Moosa, good luck.
Thank you.
All right, Dan, back to you guys.
Moosa Cisse, and he's also our play of the game as well. The 5-star recruit, number 8 per ESPN in the entire sophomore class. And this was just one of his 9 blocks. How about this? 22 points, 19 rebounds, 9 blocks, just 1 block shy of a triple-double. So impressive, the shot blocker in Moosa Cisse. Well, the final score, it is Christ the King 72, Bishop Loughlin 61. Who will they play? We'll find out next. Cardinal Hayes will end up battling the champions out of the Archdiocesan against Archbishop Stepanak, the reigning champions here in the intersectional. Many thanks to the entire crew, as always. Amanda Puglisi roaming all the sidelines, and everyone else for what they do. Our producer and director, Brian Butler. I'm Dan Savarino saying don't go anywhere. This is going to be a good one. 8 o'clock start, Channel 61, News12Varsity.com, and Facebook Live. It will be Stepanak and it will be Cardinal Hayes for a chance to play Christ the King in the intersectional final. The HSS Game of the Week. Locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The best is now nearby. We'll catch you in just a couple of minutes.